When you visualize loneliness, what does it look like? Are you social or antisocial? How do you connect with the world around you? Thank you. Please wait while your individualized operating system is initiated. The irony of loneliness is that none of us is actually alone. Our feelings of isolation and alienation exist as a result of our willingness and capabilities, or lacks thereof, to connect with others in the world around us. Spike Jonze's 2013 sci-fi drama Her is an acknowledgement to the most basic of human conditions, a love letter, if you will, saying,
"Hello, I'm here."
Oh.
Theodore Twombly lives in Los Angeles in a near-distant future. It's not the typical future that we've come to expect from our understandably cynical expectations of what's to come, but rather a future of optimism, of equality, of contentment. But that's just on the surface. Behind that facade of serenity lie the same old feelings of insecurity, feelings of resentment and estrangement.
After 8 years, I can't believe how petty the argument was that actually ended it.
Of detachment.
You make me feel like the girl I was when you first turned on the lights and woke me up and we started this adventure together.
Of complacency. Or longing. Of a fundamental absence and a need to fill it. Barrett and his team approached this future not with the need to create an alien world that was unfamiliar to the audience, but to instead create something comfortable, relatable, and warm, something that we can connect with. It's a Los Angeles which has grown exponentially but still feels like LA. It's a mix of towering new construction, a nod to the current development occurring throughout the city, and older, recognizable, more familiar buildings. They even included our famous LA smog. The use of towers as a visual language and setting serves several purposes. First, it depicts a future where everyone is on the same level. Not literally. Someone will always be above you unless you're at the very top. Apartment sizes vary, views differ, but everyone is on the same plane economically, socially, geographically. Everyone starts with the same general palette, materials, aesthetic. The unspoken notion of suburban warfare is gone. No more competing to have the better yard, the better car, the bigger house, the fancier toys. Tower life means everything and everyone is, more or less, the same. But the very nature of tower living contributes to detachment. Residing in mass housing, more often than not, creates more of a sense of isolation from neighbors. The only points of connection in high-rises are the common spaces, mainly the elevator and lobby, which you'll notice is typically where Theodore runs into his friends. And of course, being physically above society creates a disconnection from the happenings of the surrounding world below, despite the view. The other optic towers address is a sense of scale, and not just the scale of the city to assist in placing us in time, but the scale of our main character, Theodore Twombly, a small individual in a huge populated world. Her leaves little to the imagination in regards to the surroundings. On the ground, the world is seemingly more interconnected than it's ever been. LA is now walkable, and public transportation is finally accessible and useful. These choices not only reflect the optimistic desires of a future LA that we would love to have, but also ground the city and make it more relatable. Those towers that remind us of our scale in the world feel less imposing when we can walk among them, intertwining with their existence. The city is incredibly clean and litter-free. Everything has an almost museum-like quality about it, giving us a look but don't touch impression. People are out and about, enjoying their free time, taking advantage of everything LA has to offer. They generally seem to care about others' well-being. So what's missing? Why is everyone still walking alone, glued to their devices, immersing themselves in other worlds? Because we're still human. Fundamentally, at our core, we are still always searching for more, for that connection. But in a world of convenience and more evolved technology, we found ways to maintain a nostalgic relationship with things from our past. We may not write our own letters, but we still send them. In fact, it can be argued that letter writing has made a bit of a renaissance in this future. When is the last time that you received a real, thoughtful, handwritten letter? There's still an appreciation for books in printed form. Probably not much of one, but still, it's there. We still print important documents, like divorce papers, on physical media and sign them with pens. After all, there's something about tangibility and reality that will always go hand in hand, which creates an interesting paradox for the relationship between Theodore and Samantha. Other than the devices through which they communicate, she exists only in the abstract unless via a surrogate, which Theodore rejects because there's a lack of authenticity in the connection. And if it's not tangible, is it even real? The furnishings, materials, clothing, textiles, everything in the future of her has a tactile quality. There's a lot of warmth and softness, but with visible textural traits. Nothing looks cheap. Everything looks comfortable, well-made, well-fitted. There's a lot of color in the clothes, in the environment. In this future, it's color that allows us to express some level of individuality. No one is walking around in suits, ties, or with belts because those would overly define roles and create visual separation amongst the community. There's a warmth to the light throughout the film, creating a blanket-like quality that tells us it's going to be okay. But again, with all of this is that sense of nostalgia, that connection of who we are to who we were, and perhaps to who we will be. Theodore's constant state of being is living within the present and the past. Who he is and who he was. A man who's had love and lost it. A man who's had happiness and now finds himself unengaged. He's surrounded by people, yet, as we can relate, feels alone. And it's not for lack of effort or want to know others, but a lack of achieving real connectivity. Theodore craves a kinship with someone on a deeper level. He longs for that bridge between two human beings which he feigns for others on a daily basis in his work. Anyone can dial up a sexual escapade and find escapism. But that real, profound connection is hard to come by, even in this world.
Well, actually, I think the thing I always found frustrating about my mom is, if I tell her something that's going on in my life, her reaction is usually about her.
If the name Twombly sounds familiar, it's probably because it's a clear reference to the artist Edwin Parker Cy Twombly, whose work spans different media, but is perhaps best known for his paintings. His work often incorporates elements of writing. Art critic John Berger famously said of his work that he, quote, visualizes with living colors the silent space that exists between and around words.
But it's in this endless space between the words that I'm finding myself now.
And isn't that what we're all looking to fill? That space between? And while Theodore's and others' relationships with their OSs not only provided them with a mutual deep connection, it also allowed all parties to grow and to evolve. As Samantha and Theodore experienced the world together, not on a physical level, but on a much deeper, emotional one, they were able to make connections with their respective realities in new ways, to understand things with a new meaning, to find new clarity, and to be able to look and actually see the possibilities of the space around them, whether it be tangible or something much more, whether it be the world as we understand it, or other worlds beyond worlds, other planes of existence that we can't yet fathom, but that we are moving toward at least understanding. Theodore's eyes now open, he can see what many of us are still looking for, that the world is at his feet, waiting for him to join it. Beyond the superficial veil of reality lies a human being, imperfect, flawed even, a sum of experiences, picking up pieces of things and people which have impacted us along the way, continually writing letters to ourselves for each momentous occasion as we search to fill that space between our words. As we proclaim,
Hello, I'm here.
we didn't say the end, because it's not. If you're looking to connect, like Theodore did, click below to subscribe and join the CineStructure community. And make sure to check out our other content that's just a click or two away.